Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Classic Podcast. My name is JP, and our guest today here, let's say, particular live from the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este, is the chairman of the Pebble Beach concours, Sandra Button.
This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
It's the joy of driving.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you.
You are really famous in the concours world. Everyone who has a car knows your name. How did this all start?
Well, strangely, it's hard to think that this year is my 39th year.
Amazing.
And next year, on the occasion of my 40th concours, it'll also be the 75th anniversary of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. So I don't know where all the years went. I'm older and all the cars are older. Some of them were actually quite new in the day that we are featuring now. So time goes by.
And it's also interesting to see how times are changing, especially in the concours world, because we have so many young people, and that's a very cool movement to see. For you, what was the biggest change if you look over the last times and decades you're working in this field?
You know, I think it's interesting that the collectors and the enthusiasts, for me, they drive the concours world. Mm-hmm. So what they're buying, what they're interested in taking care of, those are where the entries come from. So when, 39 years ago, when I first started with the Pebble Beach Concours and Jay Human and Lauren Tryon were the co-chairs, almost all the cars that came to Pebble Beach were pre-war classics, very few post-war cars. Now we get almost triple as many entries for post-war cars. So that's where all the interest is.
Yes. Why does the younger generation is not so much into pre-war cars? I mean, what is it? Is the cars are too complicated to handle, or what do you think is the reason?
Well, for one thing, I think that some of these cars became so valuable for a while. I mean, that has changed, and values change over time. But for a while, it was almost something that you loved and that was really meant to be driven became so valuable that people were worried about using them. And what I like about the new generation is they love to use their cars.
True.
And so I would say that some of the post-war cars are much easier and more fun to drive on modern roads, and because, if you're stuck in traffic and you're Hispano-Suiza, it's not very happy. So they weren't meant for that.
Absolutely, because just for the reason there weren't so many cars around.
Yeah.
So I think that's the democratization of having a car has not made good to the function of the pre-war cars, I would say. But I agree. I think it's nice to see. And then also, I mean, we have here in the field, we have a fantastic Duesenberg, we have a fantastic Packard. All cars that also have a connection, or some of the cars have a connection to Pebble Beach. What do you think is the fascination about this massive, elegant American classics, like a Duesenberg, like a Packard?
If you look at a place like Villa d'Este or Pebble Beach, and you imagine in the 30s, the people that would drive up to the hotel, and what would they be in? What kind of vehicle would they be in? There's sort of a magical moment when you think, Clark Gable had a Duesenberg and I'm sitting in the same seat, and you get that feeling like you could be that person.
Very true, absolutely. We are now here at the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este. What would you say is the difference between a European event here at Villa d'Este and Pebble Beach, if there's any? I mean, we have many American collectors here at the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este. We have many Europeans now very excited going to Pebble Beach. And I think this reunion of people from all sorts of nations coming together to celebrate cars, I often ask if there's a difference, and I think I don't see a difference because, as you said, it's the collectors that made the event.
No, and I agree with you, JP, because I think that I feel like I have a tribe of people that I travel the world with.
Yeah.
And, it might sound very chic to say, oh, well, I just saw you in Paris at Retromobile.
Yes.
And I'm going to be in Chernobyl at the beautiful Villa d'Este. And, there's a new event coming up in November in Bahrain. And I'm lucky enough that I've traveled the world and been to concours events all over the world. And I have to say that the cars glue us together.
Yes.
And the mutual love of the cars. So sometimes we can't even speak the same language very well, but the language of cars is the same at all these concours events. Now, the judging can be different, the setting, of course, and I actually like it very much when concours events are true to they're not all trying to be Pebble Beach or trying to be Villa d'Este, but they're true to wherever they're from. And, you know, if you go to Kyoto Concours, it's beautifully Japanese.
Amazing.
And that's important.
Yes. I think the venue is very important. And either you look over the Lake Como or you look over the Pacific from one of the most wonderful and most respected and challenging golf courses that has been turned into something for a concours, like the car meet of the year, in a sense. What are the origins of the Pebble Beach concours?
Something that's very cool about Pebble Beach, and Simon Kidston brought it up yesterday here at this Concorso d'Eleganza, is that we have our roots in motorsports. Mm-hmm. And yesterday there was a car, and Simon quoted Phil Hill when Phil was getting ready to race the car at Pebble Beach. So the road races, which started in Pebble Beach in 1950,
I didn't know that,
were the true beginning, and the concours was not important. So the races happened between 1950 and 1956. They started to have some fatalities. The cars got faster. They were racing through the forest. But Phil Hill famously won the Del Monte Cup, the Pebble Beach road races, in 1955.
Yes.
And then he went on to win Best of Show with his Pierce Arrow that same day. So we really, I love the fact that it was all about motorsports, and very famous people raced, you know, Carroll Shelby raced at Pebble Beach, Phil Hill. So it was just fantastic that it was truly were about the cars and racing.
But how do I have to imagine that? That's, of course, there's this road race, which is amazing and attracts many international drivers. And then comes the idea, okay, let's do a concours of elegance on a golf course. I would imagine like the first pitch of the idea to the board of the golf course. Is there some records how they reacted on that idea?
Well, I think that, you know, what happened initially is that after the races, everybody kicked tires. And the first few years at Pebble Beach, in fact, I think the 1950 through 1954, a brand new car won Pebble Beach. So basically, all these fellows came over to Europe for the war. They saw some race cars. They saw great, you know, sports cars, and they started selling them in San Francisco. And so it was just a time to kick tires. Now, after they canceled the races and they started to build Laguna Seca, which Laguna Seca was built in 8 months, if you can believe that.
I mean, crazy.
Then they decided, well, we don't need to have the concours up here by the racetrack, the road racetrack. Let's have it down on the lawn by the lodge. So initially, it was only on the very small lawn between the lodge and the ocean, not on the golf course at all.
Okay. Is that the place where you have now the concept cars, or is that?
No, the concept cars are in front of the lodge.
Okay.
The concours was always between the lodge and Stillwater Cove, and between the water. But just that little space there, that's how many cars there were.
But then it grew, and it will become a very successful story and so influential to the collector world, I would say. I mean, that's something very crazy. I would like also to touch a bit of the personal side of Sandra Button. Because not many people know that you are, I think you're quite good in German, because you've been an exchange student for a while. You went to school in Germany.
In the near from Osnabrück.
And were you car crazy at that time as well? Or?
Always been.
Really?
Always been. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in the United States, you can get your driving license at 16. And I wanted to get in the car and go anywhere I could go. So initially it was about the driving and the freedom, more than the vehicle itself. Yes. I was fortunate. My father had a 1965 Ford Mustang. That was his daily driving. Cool. Yeah, his daily driver. It was baby blue.
Oh.
And so I guess, you know, that sort of sparked my interest in that a car was more than just transportation.
And was he very proud that you was very eager to get the driving license? Because he seems to be into cars a little bit.
My father was a little bit into cars, believe it or not, he was a rocket scientist at Boeing.
Really?
Yes. So I never got to go to work with Dad because he worked in the
Top secret
area.
Yes.
So when people say it doesn't take a rocket scientist, I think of my father, right? Because so he wasn't really a car guy, and I remember I was more into the sounds of things.
Yeah.
And living in Seattle, we could hear the planes go by, and I could hear the difference between different planes.
Cool.
And that sort of transcended to cars as well, that I initially got attracted to the sound of a car.
So how did this move to Germany change your perspective to cars? Because you were very used to American cars, I assume.
Very much so. So to see, and still today, I mean, it's interesting to me being here to see the cars, are so many great cars on the road that we never get. You know, I think the EPA testing, all the things that have to be done, right?
Yes.
No, it was wonderful to see all the great cars. And of course, I lived in Germany in 1977, so there was a whole different group of cars on the road.
And a whole different mindset, I think.
Yeah.
I'm born 79. So for me growing up, it was always like, I want to go to the US because I want to see this massive cars. I want to see the Cadillac Eldorado. I want to see Plymouth. I want to see others because we don't get them here. We only in the parts where American forces were stationed.
Yes.
So a friend of mine, he grew up in near Schweinfurt, and Bavarian area, where there's a big army base, or was a big army. I'm not sure if it's still existing there. He knew everything about all the cars that came out in the 80s, all the American bangers that were driving around. And we up north, we were sitting like, okay, we had the British. So we saw sometimes an Aston Martin. That was very exciting. So I think that's absolutely amazing to see the different car cultures and how it sparks initially the love for cars. How did your career went into the car scene then? What was the next step?
What happened was, you know, initially I got my degree in business.
Yes.
And focusing on hotel and restaurant administration. So I worked for Sheraton Corp initially. And then I went to work for Pebble Beach Company. And my first job had nothing to do with the car show. It was about catering and the special events area. And that's how I got to know the Pebble Beach Concours and working on that side of it. And I just fell in love with it. I love the people. Car people are so wonderful and caring and sharing. I mean, they want, you know, it's like a cult.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
You know, you love cars and you want everyone to, you know, my husband and I travel and we're reading car magazines and Martin is handing them out to other passengers because, you know, we're trying to get more members in our car cult.
Absolutely. That's what we are here for as well, by the way.
Good.
Let's not forget, the Concours was not for vintage cars predominantly in the founding. It was an advertising sales show for coach builders to present their new creations. And then luckily it turns into this celebration of the past. And I think both the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este and also Pebble Beach Concours, with the possibility to see also modern concepts, which I always loved. I always loved to see. You saw a 166 Ferrari, and then you saw some designer who got inspired by this and doing this. How important is to bridge these two worlds of the present and future with the past?
Well, it's something we do at Pebble Beach, which I really like, was the concept lawn.
Yes.
So in front of the lodge on the putting green, much to probably the dismay of the golf department, we have, 25, 30, concept cars.
Yeah.
And what's so neat about that is on one side of the lodge, you're looking at the future. Some of these aren't even real cars. They're,
True.
styrofoam models of some sort with the design. Some of them are real cars. And then you go to the other side of the lodge and you see, oh, this is, what they used to do. This is what Buick used to look like. And this is the way they're going forward. And it just tells you that the constant idea of the love of the design of the car is there.
What really was, for all the community, was really inspiring were two classes last year at Pebble Beach, the veg classes. Mm-hmm. And that's a very bold move. I mean, we have the Silver Fox here. Definitely an amazing car, looks like a catamaran, but it's not an elegant car per se.
Well, I think Pebble Beach has become more than a competition of elegance.
Yeah.
That I think we're a celebration of everything to do with the automobile. And the Bulldog's the perfect example. Mm-hmm. That car was entered in our show in 2023. And I said to the owner, I just don't see, we have no place for it.
Yeah.
Would you mind waiting a year? And he said, of course, I'll wait a year. So then we decided to build a class around this wedge design.
Yes.
We got so much interest, it turned in, like you said, to 2 classes.
Absolutely.
And I was a little nervous, but people love that inspiration, you know, and you see even some wedge details in wedge
Absolutely.
cars. But the Bulldog was, it was so cool to have that one car be the inspiration, and all of a sudden it turned into 25 cars out there that celebrated this design.
Yeah.
For some, it might be teasingly in the selection committee, they were calling it the doorstop. What were we going to call this class? But then when the cars were physically there, they were so celebrated.
Yeah. We cannot be stuck in the past. We always have to move forward. And if collectors are focusing on these cars, you have to give them the platform, the right platform for it. And see, the Bulldog won the public referendum, the Coppa d'Oro here in the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este. It won. So the public has spoken that year that they love to see these cars.
Like you mentioned, this catamaran car. Never seen that before. It's so fun to come to an event and go, I didn't even know that existed.
Yes.
I've never even read about that car. And the people love to share their cars. If you come to Pebble Beach, walk up to the owner and say, gosh, I love this car.
Yes.
Why did you buy it? What made you like it? And, they'll go on forever.
And this is also what I find really fascinating, the approachability of people. You have a car that might be multiple $1 billion in value. You have a car that's maybe 200,000 in value, but the approachability of the owners is the same. Sitting next to their car and answering all questions because they want to share.
And they share information.
It's
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Like if Martin and I have a 300 SL Roadster.
Yeah.
And wish we had a BMW 507. I like them equally. But, sometimes we go on single mark tours where it's all people who have the same type of car.
Yeah.
And the amount of discussion at dinner and at breakfast, and of course, if you're unfortunately broken down by the side of the road, everyone knows how to help you, and you learn so much about your car.
Yeah.
The people are so inclusive. And if somebody gets into cars just for money or just to be seen, they don't last very long. Because the authentic car people really enjoy each other.
Yeah. I really can't quote you on that, but I think you said in one interview that an elegant car speaks for themselves. Please, apologies for not being precise on that one. So what do you think? What would an elegant car say to you?
It's interesting you say that, because one of the pieces of advice that our chief judge, Chris Bach, gives the judges Sunday morning, they have their clipboards and they have their judging sheets and 100 points, and got a very, sometimes it gets down to a quarter of a point between cars. He says, let the car speak to you. Stop and look at the entire car. You can look at the minutia, you can make sure that the horn works, or all the different functions of the car, but allow the car to have its stance. Does it sing to you? Is it the right color combination? Because sometimes the car has a shape, and the color combination doesn't do it justice, right? So I always think that a winning car, and especially a best of show winning car, it has its own language, and it has to feel like, yes, this is the way the designer wanted this car to be.
Wonderfully phrased, absolutely. This year, for the first time, as far as I remember, a BMW 507, you mentioned it, just won the Coppa d'Oro, also the public referendum award. You have seen so many cars, you experienced so many cars. What would make a 507 so special that people were voting for this car for the Coppa d'Oro at the Villa d'Este concours?
I mean, that car in particular, the light color.
Mm-hmm. It's white, we have to say for that.
Yeah. And so I think a 507 is so fantastic in a lighter color because the wheel well, you're looking at the whole car and the lines come forward for you. And you know, the 507 was not a big commercial success in its day.
No.
Unfortunately. And
No.
so there are not that many of them. So they're so fun to see. And you can almost see that car moving. You know, I think it has a sense of motion
Yes.
even when it's parked. It feels like it's saying, jump in, let's go.
Exactly.
We want to go.
Elvis Presley loved the 507 when he was here, because he was here for another reason than you, but he got also inspired by the German cars and owned the 507 for a short period of time. He was stationed here in Germany. What would you say that the V8 was the secret to bring this car to the US? Was it important to have a V8, or what is V6
No,
also?
I think it is important.
Yeah.
I think that there's a might is right
Yeah.
generation with some of these cars. And, you know, there's some beautiful Italian coach-built cars that are very underpowered.
Yeah.
You know, sadly. I mean,
Yes.
it's just a matter of the day, of what
Sure.
was available, and they were trying to build them, and then all of a sudden, if you get too much body and not enough brawn, they're not that fun. They're not very torquey. So I think on the big American open roads, yes, it was important to have that extra horsepower, probably more than you even needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we see Rolls-Royce being also part of the hosting here and stuff like this. How would you describe British elegance in coach building?
You know, obviously a bunch of cars during the day, they were chauffeur driven.
Yes.
You know, so there's a whole era of Rolls-Royce cars where I don't fit in the front very well for the driving position, because it was really meant
Yeah.
for the owner to be in the back. Thankfully, that all changed, and it surprises me how it's still that English, well-mannered car that even though it's large, it's quiet, and it goes exactly where you want it to go. Surprisingly nimble on the
Yes.
small roads. They still have it.
Yes.
It's still that Rolls-Royce moment.
It is very, in German we say, it's very unaufgeregt in a
Yes.
sense. So very nimble, as you said. It's very it's a way of enjoying the cars.
Well, you're a good dancer, you know, so I always say big girls can dance too.
Yeah.
And some of these bigger cars, they actually can
Yes.
dance down the road.
I mean, we can prove, I will prove you that you're also a good dancer, I'm for sure. We'll make sure that we do it at the dinner tonight. We have a little dance.
All right. Well, I've seen you dance, JP. It can be a little wilder than I am.
Yeah, I mean, you know, push the borders, as we say. For yet another question that is burning under my nails is looking back at this nearly 40 decades, being involved in the Pebble Beach concours. What was one of the most touching moment that you really will not forget? I'm sure there are many, but is there something, it could be something very personal, and that really is for you, if you think about this, as really touching?
Well, for me, and sadly, a lot of these times are fleeting. You know,
Yes.
so that combining the car with the person that made it famous, you know, whether that person was a driver or a designer. And I do remember when we had the Bertone, Nuccio Bertone was at Pebble Beach.
Yes.
And the Bats were there, the three cars.
Yes.
And he had never seen them together, because as they were created, they left.
Yeah.
And he was quite emotional on the ramp. He was touching them. It was fantastic.
Yeah, what a moment. The Bats are Alfa Romeo cars that were like one-offs that Bertone did to pitch for the win or to get some more work for Alfa Romeo. And they look like really, the Bat car synonymous is very good for them, because they look out of this world.
And each one was so different. I mean,
Different.
you know, and different angles and different from the front or the back.
Yes.
But to see him just stroking his creations, and it was, so anytime we can combine the person with the car,
Yeah.
we try to do that.
I think that's always the touching moments that you experience in the concours events.
Imagine the thrill for an owner, you
Yes.
know, that is collected a car that, you know, Phil or Sterling, you know, raced in history, and they get to have him sit in the car
Yeah.
and talk about the moment.
I think we have a little of a similar situation here, because in Villarba we have an exhibition about the racing history of BMWs at Millimilia. And I just snuck in yesterday night, because there was no guard, don't tell anyone. And seeing these race cars for the first time after 85 years being reunited when they were all participating at Millimilia. And you see them there. Of course, some of them are lost due to many courses, but there are two original cars, and the Millimilia winning car is also there. Because I know one of my first pieces, A Classic Driver, was about the BMW victory in Millimilia in the 1940. And now seeing these cars, which I wrote about, because there were so many different designs developed, that was truly amazing.
Great.
It's nice to consume online, like platforms like ours. It's nice to read books, but go out and speak to the people. And I think that's the very important
And be
message.
with the cars.
Yes. Smell, hear, touch maybe not so much, because these people doing so much to bring their cars together. And it's not only restoring, it's also the story about the car, research they do. I mean, that's amazing. And I think this is why concours events are very important also as custodians of knowledge. And for many brands, I mean, many brands don't have an archive anymore. And BMW is lucky enough to have the whole archive.
Wow.
There is also a question that I think you got asked many, many times. How do I win Pebble Beach?
Ah, yeah. Well, winning Pebble Beach is an interesting thing, because the first step is you have to have your car accepted.
Yes.
So, we send out entry forms. So the selection process is really important. So first, your car has to be selected. The second thing is your car has to win its class. So let's say you're in our class, we call Class J, European Classics. So it's a mixed mark. It's a bunch of cars from the 30s, fantastic classic era. We have more winners from 1937, 38 than any other so far.
Yeah.
So you have to win your class and get in the winner's circle. And we usually have about 25 classes. So there's 25.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so there's 25 cars in the winner's circle. And the ballot holders for Best of Show are all the chief class judges, specific honorary judge team leaders, the chief judge, myself. And at that point, the experts have judged them. You assume at that point that the judges have done their job. So really what you're doing is you're just walking through these cars and going, which car gives me the most emotion? Which car just stands out to me at that moment? It's meant to be a very emotional vote.
Yeah.
And so you have to win your class, and then you have to win that judging moment. And so if you think about it, how it's distilled down, thousands of cars, and you get down to 25.
I mean, getting the cars on the field is a big process, as you just described. And I think that the outside world doesn't really understand how much work it is. Besides organizing an event, how many guests do you expect on a Sunday?
Over the weekend, it's about 25,000.
I mean,
yeah, it's a lot.
when we walked down here to the location here, I said to you, I mean, your days must have been 27 hours and your year must have like 600 days.
Yeah.
What's the next steps? How does the future for you look like?
Well, this year is year 39 for me, and next year is year 40.
Yes.
And we get to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Pebble Beach concours. And then after that, it's my job to start training somebody to take my place. And, I'm in my late 60s, and by the time I organize somebody and launch them on their way, I think, it'll be nice to have a younger, vibrant person who can see the future better than I can for these cars and for the enthusiasts.
Will this be a very hard day when you really hand over and say, now I trained you?
I think, JP, how can I do this? I'm going to miss it so much. But I'll still be chairman emeritus and hopefully, being with all my car friends and going to car shows. And then other days when I'm tired, I think, you know what? It's time. It's time for someone with a longer runway, with vigor, with maybe more interest in some of the supercars, some of the cars coming up, more interest than I naturally have. So I'm excited about the future, and I'm excited to see what this new person will do.
We see this also here at Villa d'Este. Of course, this is not a place for a supercar yet. It will for sure be, because these are small numbers. They changed mobility in a sense. They changed engineering and stuff like this. So of course there will be a platform where you see hyper and supercars participating in concours events. But what I find fascinating is around the area here at Lake Como, on the days of the Concorso, you see the amount of supercars you see here. And I just said yesterday, they just wait, they just crawl at the door to say, come on, we want
Let
to
me
go
in."
in, let me in. Sandra, we have a little thing that's called the pit stop in our podcast. That's short questions with this or that options.
Okay.
So I would like you to not think too much about it.
Okay.
V8 or V12?
I think V8.
Music on or off while driving?
For me, usually off.
Driving with friends or driving alone?
Friends.
Concours on the West Coast or concours on the East Coast?
Oh, West Coast.
Pacific 101 or Autobahn?
Oh, 101.
Much nicer. We can agree on that one. Car sharing or no car?
If I lived in a city, no car.
Stick shift or automatic?
Depends on the roads. There's time for both. Honestly.
Automatic or pedals?
Oh, automatic. I'm not a paddles person. Interesting.
Wedge design or classic bodywork of French coach builder?
That's tough.
Apologies for that question.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say wedge.
French coach builder or English coach builders?
Oh, and you know I'm married to an Englishman, so that makes that difficult.
Absolutely.
But I have to say French.
A night out with friends drinking or driving rather than drinking?
Driving. I love to drive.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this short answers. Let's speak about the wedge answer, which I have not expected that one. So what makes wedge so exciting for you?
Well, like the teardrop kind of design.
Yeah.
So partially because many of those cars are underpowered and diminutive and not especially fun to drive. Whereas when I was walking through the wedge cars, I thought there were so many of them that I want to see how this works. So
Yeah.
maybe some of that's just that I need to discover.
Yeah, curiosity.
Curiosity.
And then you said driving with friends. So it's always more fun to have like a drive out with people.
Yes. Well, I enjoy even though I run a concours,
Yes.
I enjoy driving events. I think it's the best way to share your cars.
Yeah.
It's the best way to make friends. A short car rally, 3 days, hopefully always staying in the same hotel. I hate packing and unpacking, but I like those kind of tours. But it's a great way to get to know people and learn about other cars and think, wow, I never thought about owning that car, but watching them in that car makes me think that we might want to have that.
And lastly, so first of all, thank you very much for your time, because we know that you are very missed in the field and meet your acquaintances and friends. Who do you think is going to win the Best of Show Award this year at the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este?
Well, the Concorso Villa d'Este is more difficult for me to guess. Partially because of the makeup of the judging group.
Yeah.
I have participated as a judge here a number of times. So sometimes the makeup of the judges, it favors maybe Italian coach work. If you look at the previous results. So I would say that there's a couple of, there's a stunning Packard. There's a couple of amazing Duesenbergs. I don't know in this setting, if they feel right.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're fantastic. So it's hard for me to guess. There was a Seata out there that I just
this
love.
car.
I love that car. I
Amazing.
And that's what I love about coming to events.
Yeah.
Because every time the cars hit me differently. And yesterday that car just stood out to me. And I just thought, wow. So we'll see. I'm not a very good guesser at this event,
Okay.
I have to say.
I mean, so I make a non-educated guess as well, because I have I love it because having stepped down from the jury, I'm here without knowing anything. I just walk the field and things like this. So my prediction is, and I might be totally wrong, and it's just my prediction, I would say either a French or American car brand will win this year's Concorso.
Okay.
Was there a moment where you said, I would love to have this car first to be shown at Pebble Beach?
It's happened many times.
Yeah,
Many,
but you don't look like to go into details.
No.
Okay.
But I love them to be sort of premiered at Pebble Beach,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, it's like being, the rerun movie. You want to be the first run.
Of course.
But I also understand that people need to take their cars and test them out and have them judged and find out where they have some mistakes before they go to the Olympics, right? And Pebble Beach is sort of an Olympic moment.
With a vintage car, it's most likely that the car has been shown at any of the shows. I mean, the Concorso Eleganza Verde started in 1929.
Yep.
So the chances are very high that Italian coach-built cars have been shown here. But let's say after, and it was not seen for a while, it came out of restoration, and if the owner decides to go directly to the Olympics, to the Olymp of cars, and show it at either Villa d'Este or Pebble Beach, but would you say that it is also for the selection process? It influences it to say
it does.
You bring the car.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
good.
So we want to see that. It's just like a reveal, right?
Of course.
It's like when a manufacturer reveals,
Absolutely,
the shooting brake or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for giving us some insights of your personal life and also the long tight connection to the Pebble Beach Concours and what you have moved there, and also sharing with us some ideas of yourself, what you like, what you dislike. That was very eye-opening. And as we said, knowing your time schedule, we really appreciate that you took the time to speak to us here at the Villa d'Este. And that's really amazing. Thank you very much for joining the Classic Car podcast.
Thank you, JP.
And that's it for now from here. And we have another great video edition from the Concorso Eleganza Villa d'Este. And I would like to thank the whole team that makes this possible. And please, if you find the time and you don't want to miss out on any of our new episodes of the Classic Car podcast, please hit the subscribe button and leave us comments. And if you have an idea of someone who should join us for the podcast, please send us a message. You'll find in the show notes and on YouTube directly. So thank you very much for joining in. Sandra, thank you very much. And I hope that we could have celebrating 100th year of Pebble Beach together.
We'll see.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Much younger than me, so we'll see.
Thank you very much, Sandra Button.